Hello, I hope everyone's having a wonderful day, wonderful evening, wonderful afternoon. I'm jumping on live a little late, but I'm here. This is something I really want to get into. Let's adjust this camera down a little bit. I was really excited to get back to this because it's the time of year where you can't really let a whole week go by because you're going to lose time with your garden preparations. So I've been getting a lot of my outdoor vegetables that I'm growing from seed into growing containers. And why do you want to grow plants from seed? You can go down to the garden center and save yourself a bit of time. You can buy those small plants. You can wait a little later in the year. You can buy large plants. You can wait to early summer, late spring, early summer, and your garden center, garden shop, big box store, they may have full-size tomato plants that they're selling you, or they could have full-size pepper plants, or full-size, not full-size cucumbers, but definitely some really large plants to sell you. And they're going to come at a really large price as well. You're going to pay a big markup for that. So you don't want to buy them like that. If you could save yourself a bit of money, you may not save yourself time, but you can definitely save yourself a bit of money by getting out there right now. We're here in April, early April. This is a good time to still get started for your own vegetable gardens. There are a lot of seeds still for sale in your garden centers and your garden shops, so you can definitely get out and go find some wonderful seeds for yourself. What am I going to grow this year? Well, I'm planting a lot of tomatoes. I'm planting a lot of peppers. Peppers are what we're going to do in this video. But first, I want to take a look at what I planted a couple weeks ago, and that are going to be some of the tomatoes. Now, I have a wide variety of tomatoes here in this tray, and I tried to plant 2 per tray here. Let me just kind of get this up to get a good look at this. These are different varieties of tomatoes. I have a bit of problem with them, and that's the reason I'm showing them off here. First though, let me go in, and some of these have more than 2 growing in each cell. And so when you have a situation when you try to plant 2 in each cell and you have more than 2, what you do is you leave the 2 strongest looking plants, or 1 in this case. I probably want to just take it down to 1. At this stage, they're still so young, I'm going to take it down to 2, let them grow off for another week or 2, and then I will take them back to 1. But some of these actually have 3. What you don't want to do is try to take that plant and pull it out. You're going to disrupt the root matrix for all of the plants growing there. Get your shears, go down to the base of the weakest looking plant, and that's a nice little sprout. I hate to do it, but it has to be done. I'm going to take it down to 2. In another week, I'll look to see which plants are growing the best, and then I'll take it down to 1. That cell had 3 growing in it. The cell next to it has 4. So I'm going to take a look and see which one of these smaller, not growing as well. That's the first one out. And you know what? I'm actually going to take out the largest one because it's leggy, and that's the problem with these tomatoes. If you look at them, they're leggy. What does that mean? They're not getting enough light. See how tall they are? They're leaning a little bit like this. I'm going to move these to more directly up under one of my growing lights. It's been a problem that I've had here this whole spring, is I've had plants that are leaning and growing too long, too tall, too fast. When you have plants that do that, what tends to happen is they'll grow really long stems, won't be able to support itself very well later in the growing season. Now, the wonderful thing about tomatoes is if you have a tomato plant that's grown, hello Adam, blue guy, how you doing? If you have a tomato plant that has grown long, right, really long stem, when you get ready to set that out, that tomato plant, you can actually drop it lower in the ground and go up that stem. No, that's your name. You can select whatever name you want for yourself. You can go up the stem of that plant. You can plant that plant a bit deeper in the ground up that stem, and it won't kill that plant. You could do that with some plants that kill them. Tomatoes, you could drop them deeper, put more of that stem in the ground, and roots will come out along that stem, and you'll just have a wonderful tomato plant that's really deeply rooted. But preferably, you're not doing that. These need to get closer to the light. The light sits about a meter above them. That's just too high. I want to drop that light down much lower. So again, right now, just going down to each cell, just making sure I have 2. Once they grow off a little bit more, I'll cut that second one out and I'll have just 1 in each cell. But right now we're just going to take it down to 2. Some of these have 2 in them. Some of them have a little bit more. Here's one that has 3 growing in that. Again, you don't want to pull them out. You just want to snip them off at the base. That is the best way to do it to make sure you don't disrupt the roots for the other plants. These tomatoes are doing great. These are a variety of tomatoes. I'm growing multiple types. I have some nice heirloom tomatoes here, some nice slicing tomatoes, and I have some nice cherry tomatoes, and I have some Roma style saucing tomatoes. I think I have a super sauce F1, which is a really great saucing tomato. I want to grow a wide variety of tomatoes. I've also ordered some more tomato seeds because I wanted some more heirlooms. I think it'd be great to grow something like a white tomato. They come in, and it's not really white, it's more of a tan, pale tan color, so I want to do that. I want to grow some of that as well, and I've ordered those, waiting on those seeds to get delivered. You can still order in seeds. There's definitely still enough time in the year to do that. You're not behind. If you want to start tonight, today, right now, with getting you some seeds together and starting your own vegetable garden, you can do that. I do vegetable gardens, also do a lot of ornamentals. All right, I just wanted to do a bit of cleanup with those tomatoes, and we're going to set these to the side because what I really wanted to get into was peppers. These have plenty of water in them. We're going to set this to the side. So I have a nice seed tray here, and this is a general compost. I tend to just use a general compost. I don't use there are some compost that says that it is for, starting plants, and some says it's more for mature plants. I use my compost across the entire growing season, so I don't get too specialized with it. I buy a general all-purpose compost, has a lot of organic material in here, and this is going to grow really well. This one actually has a lot of chunkiness to it, so I think it's going to be a really nice compost. For peppers, I've found that I don't like those smaller cells. There are trays that have really tiny cells. I find that those just don't do well for me. I'm going to these larger size cells. What I'm going to do, same things with the tomatoes. We're going to plant some peppers now. And which peppers are we planting? Let's go take a look at the varieties. I'm going to plant a variety here of just a bell pepper, nice sweet bell pepper. It's just a mixture of bell peppers, red, purple, yellows. I love nice bell peppers. Here, this is a chili Christian. It's a nice yellow chili pepper. I'm going to plant some of these seeds. Look at that. I think that's going to be a great chili. It looks like a cayenne, but a different color. And then Fields of Fire. And I like this one. This is a nice compact. It's going to be really bushy, a nice little bush. I think that's going to be really cool. It's more of an ornamental. I think it's going to look really great. But it says it produces a medium hot chili. I think that'd be nice. Classic jalapeno. I think that's you always have to have some jalapeno in there. And last but not least, lemon hot, which is going to be really cool. It's going to be different. Also known as lemon drop, a variety of pronounced lemon flavor and a citrus scent. Now that just sounds really unique, and I'm going to grow that. So it looks a bit like that yellow chili, but it says a lemon flavor with that citrus scent. I'm really excited to grow this one. Why do you want to grow your peppers? Well, the same reason you want to grow your tomatoes. You can get them for a lot cheaper than what you can buy them for in the garden center if you buy the seeds and you start them from seed. The other thing is you have a wider variety of options of each variety that you want to grow. If you're growing them from seed, you have the option to pick which seeds that you like. If you're just picking them up in the garden center, which is, that's a good choice. Shopping center, garden center, big box store, then you have to take what they have available, right? They get to make those determinations about what they're selling, what's growing really well with the vendors that they, working with. And you don't have much say in that. You just kind of have to take what they have available. I like to grow mine from seed. If you're someone who likes really hot peppers, we're talking about, ghost peppers, Carolina Reaper, and some of those other really super hot peppers. Those you'll pretty much have to grow those from seed. Now, some garden centers I'm noticing have some of those hotter peppers now on the shelves. And that's kind of, didn't used to have that, but you have it now. And so if you want to, you can pick those plants up. I don't grow super hot peppers because I have really young children. And I'm always afraid of one of my really young children getting hold of a pepper and then we're all having a bad night. Now, the great thing about pepper seeds, you've seen them before. Hopefully you've seen them before. Really small, but not so small that they're not manageable. And I'm going 2 in each cell, and you're only going down, pressing down, and then covering about a half a centimeter, 1/4 of an inch, not very deep at all with these pepper seeds. Just get them down, kind of put them in bed, put a little blanket of dirt, soil over them, and that's really nice. So I think I would do 2 cells of each seed, and that should give me roughly 2 plants. So let's do another one of these hot lemon. You can keep your seeds over multiple growing years. These particular seeds here that I'm growing, I bought these last summer at a county show, which is actually, these were really cool. I bought these at a show, and not a county show, it was a gardening show actually. I think it was the Malvern Fall Show or Spring Show, one or the other. So you can keep your seeds in a cool, dry place. You can keep them over multiple years. My dad used to keep seeds, and especially collard green seeds, and he'd keep them in the freezer. He would freeze his seeds. I don't do that. I keep mine in a cool, dry place, and I've had success with that. Just make sure that those packets don't get wet. So I didn't use, it's 10 seeds in here. I only use 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me make sure, let me see here. I want to make sure I count this out right. So you know what? I can actually do 3 cells, 1 per seed type. I'm going to do 1 more because I want to make sure I have enough peppers here. Let's open that up, take out 2 more of these seeds. But yeah, Carolina Reaper and some of those super hot peppers. I've actually seen, not Carolina Reaper, but some of the other really hot peppers, ghost peppers, I've seen them for sale in garden centers. The seeds, which used to be kind of hard to get, more specialty, but now your garden center, local garden center can carry some of those super hots. And again, if you want those, they may not sell that as an actual sprout, as a young plant. They may only sell it as a seed. So if you really want to grow it, you may want to grow it from seed. If you want to do something really unique and grow something special that only you have, not everyone has that available. Like everyone can grow jalapeno peppers. Jalapeno peppers are everywhere, right? They're great, they're delicious, and you can find them all over the place. But if you want to grow like this one, again, this lemon, also known as lemon drop, I haven't seen this anywhere. So if I wasn't growing this from seed, then this is not something that I would have available to me, because the garden centers, they're not going to carry this. They're not going to have this. All right, so that's done. I love growing peppers. Of course, the key thing about growing peppers is the plants, and I have a pepper plant right here. I'm going to talk about this in just a minute. Let's get the jalapenos. That's done, 1 row. And I'm not marking these. I'm not, you could put a stick in them and mark the types. I'm going to plant all these out in my back patio together, and I'll tell what they are when they start to produce peppers. I know what I'm growing, so I'm not too much concerned about keeping them marked at this particular stage. They're all going to be growing in the same general area. Jalapeno peppers, classic. Here it just says yes, jalapeno. So I'll jump into it. Let me move this over. This is a jalapeno plant that I grew last year. And right before the frost, actually I didn't get to it in time. Right after the first frost, which is why the plant looks a little beat up. Right after the first frost, I got this plant out of the ground, put it in a pot, brought it inside the house. Now the thing is, and a lot of people don't know this, you can actually keep pepper plants more than 1 year. Over the course of 1 year into the next year, you can keep them alive. The stems go woody, which is what is happening here. If you look at the base, I don't know how well you can make that out. Look at this balance. This stem, this trunk is getting woody. Like it's actually taking on a very stiff consistency. But this is going to, and unfortunately, I didn't get to it in time. What happened was frost hit the plant, all of the leaves died, unfortunately. But the plant didn't die. I got it inside, snipped off all of those sections that had, frost where it killed it. And you can see that the plant is putting out new leaves. I'll pass my frost date here in a couple months, not even a couple months, actually a few weeks. And then I can set this plant outside. I'll harden it off, put it back outside. I've done this before. You can keep these over several years. It is a bit of work to get them in before that first frost date, but it's kind of cool. I think it's just kind of cool. This is a jalapeno pepper from last year. But just set that to the side. Now I want to get some more jalapenos going. Jalapeno is one of my favorite pepper types. I've never even tried one of what I'll call a super hot pepper. Ghost peppers, Carolina Reapers. I've never tried one of them. I've seen people on television, on YouTube, and I see guys, they'll try to eat one of those hot peppers, and I then see them going to have a really bad day for the next little while. They're having a really bad day. And so I've personally said, I think I will just watch that on television and not participate. But I can imagine that if you use those peppers appropriately in the right dishes, they can be used to produce some really tasty foods for you if you know how to cook with them. I don't, so I tend to just stay away from them. But I use jalapenos all the time. Jalapenos, nachos, jalapeno peppers and nachos. You can make pepper sauces. You can make your own hot sauce. You can do a lot of great things. And jalapenos, just hot enough, right, for me to be able to work with them. So you get these growing inside. I'm going to cover this, water, cover it. So, all right. Right. Jalapeno peppers, next row. Let me go ahead and get this going into the next row. Again, 2 seeds per cell. These are slightly larger cells. I will start out with 2, and once the plants get growing, I'm putting 2 in just to make sure if I have a problem with germination, in case one seed does not germinate, the other will have a chance to germinate. I will not leave 2 in each growing cell here. I'll scale it down to 1 once I see which plant is growing the strongest. So at the end, I should have 3 of each variety. All right, jalapeno peppers are now planted. I love growing peppers because they're one of the fruit. It's a vegetable, right? It's one of them that I can grow, and you can freeze them, and they retain. If you freeze it while it's firm, this is just those sweet peppers. I love freezing sweet peppers. You take them out, and I just feel like there's no degradation in the quality of a pepper. You can freeze it, and it comes out the freezer just like you put it in. If it was stiff when it was frozen, it's stiff coming out. It doesn't break down. It just continues to really be great for you. Unfortunately, the way I'm going to plant these, and it's a mix, I don't know exactly what but I like bell peppers, great in a lot of dishes, and we eat a lot of them. And again, you can freeze them and keep them over the course of a year in the freezer. That's what we do. Peppers produce prolifically. I like that sentence. Peppers produce prolifically. When you plant peppers, and it's about like tomatoes. I talk about how many tomatoes that you can get from one tomato plant. Cherry tomatoes can produce over 100, and if peppers won't produce that many, of course, but peppers are really prolific producers. So you plant peppers, you're going to end up with, if you have a good growing season, you can end up with a lot of peppers. And that's a place you want to be. Always think about it, and I talk about this a lot, about knowing how much you can handle. You'll notice that I'm only planting, it's going to end up being a lot of pepper plants, multiple varieties, but this is about the limit to what I feel that I can take care of. You have to know your gardening space. How much space do you have in your garden? Are you in the ground? Do you have a side yard? Do you have a patio? The amount of space that you have will help determine how many plants you can take care of. The other side of it is, how much time do you have? And this is that chili Christian. I think it's gonna be a really nice yellow chili. Looks like a cayenne pepper, but a different color. But how much time do you have to take care of it? I have a lot of plants growing here behind me. These are all indoors. And it doesn't rain indoors, so I'm constantly having to make sure I'm watering my plants indoors because they will die. You have to take care of them. That's where they're all in these white pots, which are semi-hydroponic pots. I've talked about that in a lot of different videos and a lot of different lives. But it means that I just don't have to water them as frequently because the pot retains a lot of the water. This is that next row. But know your limits. Know what you can take care of. Peppers are really great also because they're not typically attacked by the worst amount of pests. You're going to have aphids, and you have some plants, some insects that will affect your pepper plants. Again, going in 1/4 inch, about 1/2 centimeter. Just covering those lightly. I'm going to mist this in just a minute. Know how much time you have to dedicate to gardening and plant accordingly. I know how much time I have. I anticipate having a certain amount of time this year. All right, here's the last row, and this is Fields of Fire. Again, this is just ornamental. I have no idea what these taste like, but it's just a nice little bushy pepper plant. It's just really attractive to me. And unripe, you have that beautiful green, lime green, and then when that fully ripens, it has that nice red, so you get that color contrast with that green, limey green, chartreuse green to that red. I just think it's really pretty. And I'll tell you the truth, as I kind of go into the growing season here, if I see the garden center and they have some really pretty pepper plants, something like this that I call ornamental that I may not even want to eat, but I just kind of plant it with some of my ornamentals, flowers. Yeah, I may buy 1 or 2 of them. Not so much to eat, but just because I enjoy the way the plants look. And they produce a lot of great peppers as well. Again, unfortunately, I have young kids, and so we're slowly increasing the amount of peppers that we can use in our food and our dishes. Can't really do a whole lot with pepper because the young kids they just can't handle that. But as they get older, we're working it in there a little bit, slowly increasing their tolerance, so we can add more pepper to our foods, a lot of flavor, a lot of heat. Oh, these are really tiny, tiny seeds, really small. These are the smallest seeds. But this harvest is from July to October, so in February through April, and that's where we are right now, into April. The biggest problem I would have is if I had sown this earlier, is that the plants would get too large and would become a bit unmanageable. Light is always a problem. I'm here in England right now, and so if I'd sown this a little too early in the year, light would have been a serious problem for me. Not so much of a problem now as the days are getting long, but this room is not facing in the best direction. That's why I have all of these extra lights to help provide enough light in this room. You'd think that with conservatory, but the orientation of this room just isn't the best. It is late here. I ended up cooking dinner and had a couple kids who weren't feeling well. And so I ended up getting caught up with family stuff. So I didn't get the opportunity to do this a little earlier. All right, and that's easy. That's easy work. So what do you do after that? You get your peppers, you get them planted, which I just did. I did 2 in each one of these cells. And what I want to do next is just mist. And the reason I'm saying mist is because if you get your picture, those cells they're just right below the surface. I'll turn this down here. There we go. Those pepper seeds, the seeds are just right below the surface, right? You only went down about 1/2 centimeter, 1/4 of an inch, just right there. And so if you start pouring your water out of your pitcher, it's gonna lift those seeds up. This compost is a bit dry. It's gonna lift those seeds up, throw them all over the place, mess everything up. How do you avoid that from happening? Mist across the top. And I just say it locks the compost in place. Bought this mister. There are different designs. I like this one because it was like brass, old school. It's a little stiff though, so I have to kind of apply a bit more, pressure than I would like. It should be something I could just kind of do it like this. It would be cool, but kind of, but I have to really press down kind of hard. But I just missed that in place, lock those seeds in place, not too aggressive with the watering here. Now this is in a separate tray, and then I water from the bottom. And I don't want to do that right now because I'm going to move this. So that's multiple types of peppers, 3, each row is 1 type. There are 2 in each cell. Once they sprout, if I get good germination, I'll have 2. I will wait to see which plant is growing off the best, and then I will snip out 1 and leave it to 1. So this should end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, like 15 pepper plants. And I think that's a lot of different varieties. And then I also have my jalapeno left over from last year. And I think this is going to do really well. I want to see how much this grows. And I think it'll really take off once it gets back outside into the right growing conditions. Once it warms up here, I think this will do really well. These are the peppers. They're looking really good. The tomatoes are doing good. Again, I need to get them up under the growing lights. The lights are just too tall. And a lot of the other plants that I have growing here are doing well. I also have my marigolds. They're doing really good. I dropped the light down much closer on my marigolds. I'll let you take a quick look at those. Give me a second. Okay, these are my marigolds. I started these, I think about a month ago, and the light at first was not strong enough. And I want to talk about these in a couple different ways. Because the light wasn't strong enough, the plants grew tall. Again, leggy. I don't want to pick this up too much. I watered these, so there's a lot of water in the tray. See all that space under there? They grew too tall. I said I can salvage them. And I think I've done a good job. I dropped the lights just, about a foot above the plant. And that slowed them down and they started to spread, because that's the thing. If you can get that light close enough, they'll start reaching for the light to get to the light, and then they'll start spreading to try to gather more light. And that's what's going on here. They're looking really good. The stems have thickened up quite a bit. This one is actually about to bloom. Now, here's a couple things to note. They look good, but if you look here around this edge, these are a bit darker, and these taller ones here look a little washed out. So this pepper plant has done pretty good over the winter, and it has grown. It has not leafed out a whole lot. Again, unfortunately, this plant got frost damage because I didn't get to it right before frost, but it has done well. It sits here, just kind of right there. It doesn't sit directly under one of these grow lights, which is why the leaves are a little small, but it's still alive. It has managed to survive, and it had to fight off a lot of that frost damage, which is why it slowed down quite a bit. I may move it a little closer to one of the grow lights to see if I can get a bit more growth out of it. The key thing though, when we're talking seedlings, is you don't water seedlings. You absolutely water seedlings. You don't put fertilizer on your seedlings. But you can see these plants are not seedlings anymore. They're kind of getting large. And that's what I'm noting. Around this edge, these are a little darker. These are taller and they're going a little pale. And that's, to me, is saying, because the plant looks good, looks healthy, thick stem, about to bloom here, this plant needs fertilizer. So what I'm gonna do is, this one's another one that's about to bloom, that has little buds, little marigold buds on it. That's great. I mean, I love marigolds. It's one of my favorite plants, but it needs a little fertilizer. I would love to get this out of this tray because they need more space now. The plants need more space. Unfortunately, indoors, I'm running out of space in windowsills and light. So I may try to hold off on it, but I definitely will add I'll probably add a little bit of liquid fertilizer to these. And then normally I don't add a lot of liquid fertilizer. I use a lot of slow release fertilizer, 3 to 6 months, slow release. But I know these need a little bit of nitrogen. That's what's going on. I get a bit of nitrogen on these plants. I use a balanced fertilizer is what I tend to use, and that's what will help these grow really well. A nice balanced fertilizer. You don't have to get too fancy with your fertilizer, and just don't over apply it. Follow those instructions really carefully. But that's what these need. These need a bit of fertilizer, and it will help these plants green up really well. You'll notice when you put a lot of fertilizer on your plants, you'll notice that coloration, that color change. So that's what these need. These need fertilizer. I'll fertilize this. I'll add a touch of fertilizer to this one. This larger jalapeno, that will just be a nice slow release fertilizer, which I use. This is what I use here in the UK. This is all purpose, 6-month feed. And what I like about it is that, you get your nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, but it also has things in it like boron, magnesium, copper, zinc. It's like a multivitamin, right? And so I love to use this, slow release fertilizers. That's what I use on this jalapeno. Six months, slow release, and that's gonna do really well. But that's not what I'm gonna use on these. I'll use a bit of liquid fertilizer and put it directly into the water these from the bottom, and let it sit in the bottom tray. That's gonna go really well. But these are my marigolds. I wanna plant another tray of these because these just got so leggy, and I wanna grow another tray of them. I think these are gonna do well. I would probably plant these in the same bed with my strawberries. I have a bed of strawberries, and I'll plant these around the edge. And I think that'll look good. But yeah, I have a few more French marigolds, some of my favorites. Just like really nice, dark. What I want to go with this year is these nice orange colors, these dark colors for my marigolds. I'll get some more of these planted. Some of these are already in here. Again, those nice orange colors. That's what I have in here right now, and I'll plant some more of those. But I won't do that tonight. It is actually getting late, but I still want to jump on a live. I try to do one of these every week. I've started the YouTube channel about 1.5 years ago, and it's because I enjoy gardening, I enjoy horticulture, I enjoy growing ornamentals. I do vegetables like the jalapeno pepper. I'm more of a flower guy though, and I love going to flower shows. Living here in the UK, I can go to a lot of different flower shows. The largest, of course, is Chelsea, which may have already happened. I don't tend to go to Chelsea because it's London, it's very posh, and I don't go to that one. But the Harrogate Flower Show, the Malvern Flower Show, I love going to flower shows, talking to growers, vendors, seeing some magnificent plants, and that's just kind of my thing, and the Royal Horticultural Society. So living in the UK, it's a great place if you're into ornamentals, if you're into flowers. This is a great place to be. And so I was doing that, and then I recognized that, hey, I want to kind of share a bit more of my experience. It was recommended to me actually by my mother-in-law. She said, hey, you go to so many flower shows. I have another YouTube channel, which is a family channel. She's like, you guys are already doing YouTube. You're always at these flower shows. You're always going to see these beautiful gardens. You're not going. I love going to Kew. I love going to botanical gardens, Birmingham Botanical Garden. Spend a lot of time there. And she said, you should, do a YouTube channel and show more about. Hi, Moon. How's it going? Show more about your experience, not just your experience with the family and the family channel, but your experience with gardening. And I've been gardening since I was a kid. And I was like, you know what? I could do that. And I've studied gardening quite a bit extensively, taking some classes. I'm looking to take courses this year. I may get into some just to kind of you can always increase your knowledge, learn a little bit more. And so if I can do that, I will. But I have a bit of knowledge and I like to share it. But these marigolds, I'm impressed with them. This one is just really tall, but the stem has thickened up. And that's what I was really concerned about before. But yeah, I digress. I wanted to share that, and the channel's been doing good. I mean, we're at 1,500 subscribers to the YouTube channel, and I switched it up and started going to the gardens. I'm still going to go to gardens, right? That will continue to happen. I will continue to go to botanical gardens. I will continue to have those experiences. But how can I make the channel more helpful and beneficial to people who are into gardening or want to get into gardening? And so that's when I said, okay, let me switch it up and start talking a little bit more about these fundamentals of how-tos. And so that's what I started doing, a bit more how-tos. Does every plant flower? There are some that don't, but most do. Yes, a lot of the snake plants will look weird. A lot of cactus, they send up these long individual shoots. There's a lot of plants that have some really weird, some really unique flowers. And these ornamentals are easy, right? You know what those flowers look like. But there's some plants, and I have some that I didn't know they were going to flower, and all of a sudden this stem pops out and these little flowers hanging off to the side. Insignificant flowers to the overall plant, right? So it's like these plants, when they bloom, the flower is the main thing you see. But when some plants like cactus, when they flower, it depending on the variety of it, the flower will be really small and insignificant. But yeah, a snake plant. But that I take that to mean it's one or two things. So if your plant flowered, is one or two things is going on. One, it's happy. And it's enough of its growing conditions have been met that the plant says, hey, I'm happy. I like making more of me. So let me try to flower to make more of me. You've met a lot of the growing conditions for that plant to feel comfortable and making more of itself. So it flowers, especially for plants that don't normally flower. However, the opposite could also be the case, whereas the growing conditions are really bad and the plant's like, oh, let me flower right before I die to try to move it into the next generation. And I can't tell you which one it is, but if your plant is lush, growing well, then flowering is a natural part of the process for a plant that is thriving and doing really good. Polka dot plant is nice. Purple passion. I have to look that one up to see exactly. There's a favorite, surprising, favorite flower. Yeah, surprising. So mine is my aloe. Is flowering. I have an aloe. I have several. One of the aloe is flowering right now, and I didn't know that the aloe is flowering. I just come in as a stem and it's flowers. Like, whoa, what's going on? So that was kind of caught me off guard. I was not expecting for that to happen. But yeah, that's what I do. I enjoy coming on here. I jump on the lives. I try to do these every time. It's a little late for me. Actually, it's really late. Whoa, it's late. I'm not even Sunday anymore. I'm down to Monday morning. I got to get ready to go to bed. But the thing is, I was going to start to do these a little later than I've been doing them. So it'll line up with the majority of my audience on this channel is in the US. So I was going to start doing these a little later, probably aim for about 9:30 British Standard Time is when I'm going to probably start trying to get out here on live. And that'll be a little later for the individuals who are watching from the US. And again, the big chunk, about 45% of all the viewership for this channel is coming from the US. That's fine. I'm American, so I expect it. And that works out well. So I was going to do it a little later, and I do like to jump on Sundays. That's the best time that I have available to get this done. Typically, again, with a house that's full with kids and work and all those other things, I can't jump on live much other times, but this I can now. Fuzzy purple plant, orange flower, looks like an astro. Okay. Yes, my aloe has a stem. It's actually, I'll show you on just a second. I actually have 2 aloe that's bloomed. Here, it's the aloe, and it bloomed, and you can see, well, if you can see at the top of that, it's actually starting to go brown. Bloomed a few weeks ago, and just out the blue, sent up a stem and bloomed. I have another smaller aloe, same thing, sent up a stem. Now, a lot of people say that you should cut these off and not let the aloe bloom because it's pulling energy away from the plant. But this plant's doing pretty good. I actually need to repot it. It's leaning a little bit, and I've been working on it leaning. I put a light over it to try to straighten it up. But again, I've mentioned before, this room doesn't have the best growing condition. I'm having to add a lot of artificial light in here. It's a conservatory, but it just doesn't get a lot of light. But I'm trying to straighten this plant up. But yeah, this is aloe, and it has a stalk, and it has bloomed. And I have another smaller aloe, same thing, stalk and bloom. And as this dry out a little bit, once it dries up more, then I'll be able to just grab it and it'll pop right off, no problem. But yeah, this is a really cool aloe. I've been collecting aloe because I like the different looks with aloe. And you can get some really cool looks with aloe. So I have this one. Actually, I have a lot. What I don't have is the classic aloe vera. Let me move this up so I can just sit this down here. I don't have the classic aloe vera that you see growing everywhere, but I picked up this one just the other day. I was like, wow, I love that. And it has another little one coming up on the side. So I'm gonna separate that small one out, get that into its own pot. But I just thought that was the coolest looking aloe. It has that variegation, those white stripes on that. I'm like, yeah, definitely add this to the collection. So I have this aloe here, and then this new one. I'm gonna repot this one, but yeah, I just thought that was really cool. Just got it literally just the other day. And I have a couple more back there as well. This one's not blooming, just growing, needs to get bigger. And this was not, this plant was not this big when I bought it. It has been, I guess, pretty happy here. It wasn't this small when I got it, but it was nowhere near this big. But it's gotten a little girth on it now. It's getting pretty big. And so again, it's actually grown enough to where I feel like I need to repot it. But it's been very happy here, growing in this room. I keep the humidity high and, keep it watered. Yep. And it's growing in Lacusa pond, which is not growing in soil. It's just kind of like a pebbly type growth substrate, which I think works really well for this particular plant, which probably comes from a more deserty, dry place. So it likes to have roots that can dry out quite a bit and definitely not sit in a lot of moisture. And so this is a really cool aloe. I'm going to plant this one in the same type substrate that this one is planted in, because this has been having such great success. And I'm going to plant this one as well. This one right now is in looks like just a soil compost. I don't use, when I repot these, almost nothing is sitting in soil. Some of these directly behind me, but everything else is sitting into Lacusa pond. Or you don't have to use pond, you can use another type of substrate, but just kind of small, pebbly. It's a nice soil. It's German. This is what I use. Now, some people like it, some people don't. Some people don't like the fact that it has a little bit of fertilizer in it. You can get a variety that doesn't have the fertilizer in it, but it's just kind of a pebbly, it's different types of, not quite perlite, you can think of it like a volcanic rock, just really pebbly type of soil. And that's what I use. That's what all of these plants are growing, like everything behind me is growing in that. But I will admit, it gets to be a bit pricey. So if you start growing in different substrates aside from just normal compost, you may get some benefit from doing that. I like it. I was having a lot of problems with soil, and I also wanted to get rid of some of the pests that comes with soil. So that's why I switched to this substrate, and it works real well for me, but it can be a bit pricey. You just have to kind of buy it, and then over time you get a bit more money, buy some more, catch it on sale, although it's not very often on sale. And I've been thinking of switching to this, this is leca, which is these are kind of clay balls. You see a lot of people is really pretty ornamental. They'll put these clay balls in like a clear glass jar and then put a plant in it. It looks really cool. You have to rinse these off a lot. A lot of people swear by these, and I just haven't tried them yet. I bought it, and I've been meaning to try it, and I may get around to it. But yeah, these are clay balls which have been roasted to make them really, really hard, and they work really well as a growth substrate. Again, fancier substrates, you don't have to use that. You can just stick with your compost. You see, this is in just a regular, this jalapeno pepper compost. Why? It's going back outside. I do not use any of this fancy stuff outside. Those are only for my indoor plants. My things that are sitting outside, they're all sitting in soil because I'm not, going to spend that kind of money on things that's going to be sitting outside. And I think these grow really well in just a normal soil. But this grows really well in more pebbly, rocky type substrate. It just kind of goes really well for me. All right, it is way past bedtime, and I appreciate everyone jumping on live. Hey, if you get an opportunity, go check out the channel, like the channel, follow along. I try to jump on live again every Sunday. I try to do it British Standard Time. I'm aiming for 9:30 British Standard Time next week. So if you have an opportunity, jump back on here with me next week. If not, it's great seeing you, and do take care.